This is Crime, Mr. Wade, bringing you the stories. Stay tuned for a lot more.
Today's unfortunate story is about a Jamie and Sandy Melgar. They were both victims of a home invasion in Houston, Texas. Jamie Melgar was murdered in this brutal attack, suffering multiple blunt and sharp injuries, including 31 knife wounds, leaving behind his wife of 32 years, Sandy, and their only daughter, Liz, as well as their wider circle of family and friends. At around 4:15 p.m. on December 23rd, Jim's brother, sister-in-law, two nieces, and niece's boyfriend came for dinner at Jim's invitation. Upon arriving at the house, they found no answer to text messages, phone calls, or knocks at the door. A garage door, which was usually kept closed, was found open and used by Jim's older brother. To gain access to the house via an unlocked interior door was used. Upon entering and finding a dark and seemingly empty house, he went to the rest of the family in the front door. Around this time, muffled cries for help were heard coming from the bedroom, where Sandy was found in her closet, located in the master bath. Upon opening the closet door, Sandy was found face down, tied up with her arms behind her back, ankles bound, barricaded into the closet from the outside with a chair on its rear legs, having urinated and defecated during the estimated 15 hours she spent in the closet.
It's been a decade since that night, December 23rd, 2012. The couple was celebrating their 32nd wedding anniversary.
I give them credit for showing me what a loving and healthy relationship is. They just have what I hope I have at 32.
Despite a series of health issues, including rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, bone grafts in her hips, and eventually bilateral hip replacements, a 34-year of documented epilepsy and memory issues, detectives homed in on Sandy as the only suspect. Sandy was vulnerable, confused, and traumatized in the wake of her husband's murder and her own assault. With limited memory of what happened to the Melgars on that terrifying evening due to what seems was a seizure, blow to the head, or a combination of these factors, she was an easy target for the detectives. Sandy was taken straight from the scene of the crime to the police station for interrogation instead of the hospital, despite detectives telling the family otherwise. Detectives conducted a quick and careless investigation, failing to collect and thoroughly document important evidence and requesting an arrest warrant for the DA within 2 hours of arriving at the crime, without even processing the scene or testing any evidence. The family's lawyer, George Mack Seacrest, defended Sandy in court for 3 weeks in August, the year of 2017. Seacrest put together what he felt was a strong case, highlighting the corruption and poor investigation conducted by the Harris County Sheriff's Office. However, due to what some may have called improper or unethical behavior on behalf of the prosecutor, combined with a complacent and biased investigation by the Harris County Sheriff's Office, 12 jurors were led to believe that Sandra Melgar was guilty of Jamie Melgar's death. There were no numerous glaring errors in the police investigation and strong evidence that contradicted the police's version of Sandy committing the crime. Sandy's attorney had good evidence of bad credibility against the Harrison County Sheriff's Department. For instance, a similar home invasion that was carried out in a surrounding area with a nearly identical MO was never investigated for possible connections. Very little forensic testing was carried out on the crime scene. For example, blood photographed on the safe handle, which was in the closet with Jim's body, was not processed or collected, despite the police telling the family the contrary. Male and female DNA not belonging to Melgars was found in several key areas of the house, including stolen items, yet this evidence was ignored and it did not fit into the police narrative. Miss Sandy had no cuts, wounds, or bruisings that would come from beating and stabbing a larger adult to death. In contrast, Jim sustained numerous bruises all over his body, abrasions, catastrophic damage to organs that would indicate a violent struggle. This include fracturing both eye sockets and 2 other locations of Jim's skull that a woman of her size and with her health issues would surely be incapable of inflicting. These are just a few of the glaring errors which landed an innocent woman in prison for the next 27 years of her life, if she even lives that long. The fact that detectives ignored any evidence that pointed away from Sandy has created a difficult path for her to be able to prove her innocence, as the evidence that could and would have implicated someone else in this heinous crime was not even collected, correctly categorized, and some was not even submitted for testing and or analysis.
No. She was found tied up in one closet of their Northwest Harris County home, and her husband stabbed to death in another closet. But investigators didn't buy her story because she couldn't remember and told them she had a history of seizures.
See, what we're seeing there, the physical evidence that's there, and what you're telling us, it's just not adding up.
And the murder weapon, a knife, was found in the home. The defense argued there was no physical evidence linking Sandra to the crime, and they pointed out the bloody handle of a safe was never tested. Fast forward to today, the family says new DNA testing on the safe points in a different direction.
And it did come back to a male who is not my father. It does not have any familial match or ties to us.
Evidence the Innocence Project of Texas will now explore, as they announced they will work on Sandra's case.
The family have and continue to be truly devastated by this crime and the disturbing treatment experienced at the hands of the Harrison County Sheriff's Office. Jim and Sandy's friends and family have continued to stick by Sandy and supported her through the bogus investigation and trial. Sandy was not innocent until proven guilty. There was zero forensic evidence linking her in this case and no motive. Yet the outright lies told by Harrison County Sheriff's Office and its prosecutor allowed for an innocent woman to be charged and convicted with the heinous crime of murdering her husband. This traumatic ordeal is lived every day by the Melgars, haunted by the death of their much-loved husband, father, son, brother, uncle. His grandchildren will never have the privilege of knowing their grandfather. Sandy has been wrongly convicted and sentenced to 27 years in prison. Assuming she lives that long with her health issues and subpar medical treatments. With Sandy as serving someone else's time, the true murderer is still out, free to live their life in the community. Sadly, this is all too common in Texas, particularly in Harrison County. This living nightmare could happen to any one of us. It is terrifying that the authorities that are in place to protect the public have the power and capability to inflict such harm through their abuse of the same legal system meant to provide truth and justice. With your help, we hope to bring Sandy home, find Jimmy's murderers, and finally allow for Jim's friends and family to begin the process of grieving and healing. I hope you enjoy this unfortunate story of Miss Sandy. I'm Mr. Wade and Mrs. Crime. Once again, we bring it to you.